Welcome to Fix and Fly, the business podcast, which identifies common business issues for you to watch out for in your day-to-day business life. So tune in every fortnight where we speak to leaders of corporates to SMEs where you can implement their strategies into your business. I'm your host, Larissa Logan from Fixity, where we help turn businesses around. Welcome to the Fix and Fly podcast. Hayden, thank you so much for joining us. So you have founded Sea Cleaners. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
A little bit about myself. I'm passionate about what we're doing. I love what we're doing as a group and as a growing entity. It's something that I'm inspired to get out of bed for every day. It's been such a change-making program, and really myself and my team, we're all up for it every day.
And for those of us that don't fully understand what Sea Cleaners does, can you please give us a small intro into what the charity does?
Since 2002, we've got a fleet of boats that are out picking up rubbish, cleaning up the coast, and engaging communities to help us pick up marine litter and rubbish from the waterways.
And how did you get involved in that?
That's a little bit of a longer answer to that one. I was working in the family business. My father owned a transport company, and I was working in there doing everything from unloading shipping containers to out on the road selling to working in the office doing accounts and working in dispatch, and I wasn't really enjoying myself. My girlfriend at the time and now wife and mother of our child, she said, well, hand in your notice, think back to when you're a child. If you can remember how you used to play, if you can convert that playtime to employment, you'll never work a day in your life. You'll always play. For me, I grew up in Titirangi out in the west of Auckland, and every day after school was an adventure. I was climbing out of my bedroom window when I should have been doing my studies to go out and play in the streams and make rope swings or go down to the beach and walk the coast, and I was always just in search of that adventure, and I felt adventure tourism was where I needed to go or what I wanted to be involved in. So I got involved in a number of different groups, from taking bush and beach walks with kids from different schools out along the west coast. We were caving, we were rock climbing, abseiling, and then I also had a kayak guide job down at Ferg's Kayaks on Auckland's waterfront. However, after 8 or 9 times of turning up to work and being told that there's no work today because the weather's bad, I said, bugger it, give me a boat, I'm going to go for a paddle. And I paddled up under the Auckland Harbour Bridge and just found myself surrounded by rubbish and thought, why is there no one out here picking this up? I can do this. And that's where the door knocking started with councils, and here we are today, 23 years later, still doing it.
That's an amazing story. The charity space right now is really challenging. New Zealand's come through, and we're still working through a tough economy and a recovery. How challenging is it for charities in this space?
Yeah, absolutely. In New Zealand, there's over 28,000 charities, so we're all fighting for the same dollar. But I think also you're challenged every single year, and it has been since day one. There's never been the continuity of funding beyond a year, so you've got to deliver year on, year out. And I actually, to be fair, quite like it that way too for us, because it holds you accountable for your actions, and making sure that you do deliver and making sure that you do what you say you're going to do. And for us, we know that we're a results-driven organisation, and for us to be able to make sure that we're out there showing that every day, that's one of our core strengths, and what we do is so measurable.
So out of that 28,000 charities, my research shows that there are about 100 that are related to environmental pursuits, and that is roughly around $40 million worth of funding that comes in to the economy for those charities each year. How hard is it to work in that space where you're all trying to improve the environment and you're all trying to get a piece of that pie?
I think in the greater scheme of things, 40 million a year for all those environmental charities is a drop in the ocean for the amount of work that needs to be done. The amount of work that is being done by all of those charities, I think every single one of the groups doing what they're doing, they're there for a reason, and we're all struggling to get those dollars to come in. So from the perspective of fighting for it, we would never want to take the dollars away from someone else doing what they're doing. We would always do our best to find another way to make that happen, to support ourselves. But at the same time, so long as those causes are right in their approach and what they're doing, they're just as deserving, and therefore for us all to be able to still survive in that space, and obviously we are, that's a good thing.
And so, in regards to the ocean and the seas, what change have you seen over the last 20 plus years?
There's a couple of things. I think, first of all, go back to the year 2000, no one knew that plastics in our waters was even an issue. So the fact that the awareness around marine plastics is now common knowledge across the globe, that has been a huge win for the change in mindset for people and their understanding, because first of all, you've got to make sure that people understand that there is a problem before you can actually solve the problem. And with that, people knowing about it helps us make changes going forward. On the actually boots on the ground level, there used to be, when I was kayaking up under the harbour bridge and when we first started, there was a convergence zone that the local wharfies down in the ports of Auckland used to call it the Waiheke Raft, where there was this line of debris that you could almost walk on top of the whole way out to Waiheke. That is no longer there because of the work that we've done upstream. The amount of effort and time and resources that we've put into cleaning up the upper Waitemata Harbour, that convergent zone full of debris is nothing like what it was. There will still be fragments given huge rain and weather events that move debris around, but nothing like what it was. So the change in mindset for people in general, and of course being able to see that visible difference as well.
So, from the public awareness piece, does that mean that you have to have top caliber people on your board?
I think that absolutely helps, because the more security you can give to sponsors and those that want to come in behind to help us elevate that message, absolutely having a strong leadership group completely aids us in reaching all of our goals, because we're able to get those high-level sponsors on board who then throw the same sort of money that they've given us operationally into communications and getting the message out there to educate their own consumers about the issue. So when you've got that high-level capacity on the board, you just giving that high-level assurance that everything is going to be done right.
And from a governance perspective, it's also very important, I guess, to make sure that the charity is compliant and trading while solvent on all of those types of issues. Can you give me some examples of people that you've had on the board today and historically?
Go back to when we first started and launched the program. It was actually called the Waitemata Harbour Cleanup Trust. We actually had all of the mayors of all of the cities across the region of Auckland as our trustees. And therefore, right from day one, that high-level governance was thrust upon me, and that was the biggest learning curve for me as at the time, a 21, 22-year-old, to be sitting around the boardroom table with all of these mayors and the chief executive of Watercare and the chief executive of the Ports of Auckland, learning about how to run an organisation in an effective manner. And that's just continued. We've still got Sir Bob Harvey turning up to our meetings as our patron. Mayor Wayne Brown is still there also as a patron, and he's actually been with us for about 12 or 13 years as well. Then Our current chair, the former Deputy Prime Minister Paula Bennett, is there with us, and that sense of leadership and what we're doing has just been sensational, and not to mention all the other trustees that have been and a part of our organisation, just providing that strength and foundation for what we're doing is constant.
So we've talked around a couple of challenges that the charity has faced, public awareness, obviously funding. Is there another challenge that your charity faces on a daily basis?
I think it's more a matter of making sure that we continue to educate the wider community about the issue, and every next generation that comes through, giving them the understanding of what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing and how they can help. So, for example, we've got a school kit that is reaching over 30,000 students from years 0 to 3 every year. And that's helping those kids understand the effects of littering. It's helping them understand where that rubbish is coming from, and they're able to actually start making changes. We've seen that kit actually help turn schools and school lunches into litter-free lunches, so that there's no litter leaving the school grounds. But at the same time, whilst they're learning about it and working through it, they're understanding the geography within their own community of where their drains lead to, where are the stormwater outlets, what streams are they going into, or is it going straight out on to a beach, or is it going into an estuary? All those questions are asked, and they're working towards that. So for us, education is I guess that biggest challenge, to make sure we stay on top of that, because the work that we're doing with our boats and our crews every day, we are essentially the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. But the way we see it, our education program is building the fence at the top of the hill, and our boats, with the amount of volunteers that we've got out on our boats every day, our boats are our classrooms, educating that wider volunteer base as well.
So those are really great initiatives. How do you decide on you have limited funding, right? So how do you decide on which initiative to go forward with each year?
The primary focus is keeping the boats running. We have a number of boats that we've got that are still not funded to operate. So we've got boats that are sitting on the dock. We know that we need to get those boats funded to operate in new territories. That is, at the same time, making sure, and before we jump too far, we want to make sure that the boats that we've got operating are fully funded for the year ahead. So we want to make sure that that security is there in place. And over the last couple of years, things have been tight, and we went from having 5 boats working full-time down to 2 boats. So we had to make some serious decisions and cuts and tighten our belts and make sure that we got through that period. And we've come through that and are now back up to having 6 boats throughout the country working full-time. So we're actually now in a better place than we've ever been. But it still requires that same level of scrutiny and making sure that we're, again, delivering on everything we say we do. We're making sure that the focus is on that security and making sure that we're not extending ourselves too far and spreading ourselves too thin with the dollars that we have.
So I always say that you can't manage what you can't measure. How do you report back to your stakeholders in regards to your success?
Everything is by the litre for us. It's by the volume of waste collected and the number of volunteer hours that people have contributed to. So, for example, now we've pulled out over 20 million litres of rubbish. With that, we've also done audits on the rubbish and what we're collecting. 78% of what we're picking up is plastic, single-use plastics. For every litre of rubbish, there is 10 pieces of rubbish per litre. So that's over 200 million pieces of rubbish that have been pulled out of our waterways here in New Zealand. When you've only got 5.5 million people in New Zealand, that's a far lot more rubbish than what should be out on our waterways. And again, we're still not entirely over the entire country, and we are still inundated by debris coming down through the local stormwater system. So for us, reporting back the core basics of what we're doing, the number of volunteer hours with people coming out, they are the basic fundamentals of what people want to know about. And equally, how many times has the boat been out and the crew been working in those different territories that they're funded to work in. So all of that reporting is there within our quarterly report structure, and that was set up to ensure that level of governance and reporting from day one. So it's been the same process. We were fortunate to, again, to have that high level instruction right back at the start, and I guess with the development of that pilot model, I still see ourselves as still developing the pilot model with I guess the vision of having 10 boats operating full time in New Zealand. That is the pilot model that we want to look at expanding throughout every other country around the Pacific.
And so we've talked around your challenges. What are some of the mitigation strategies that you've incorporated into sea cleaners to try to mitigate these risks and challenges and to continue cleaning up the oceans?
Yeah, because it all comes back to funding. So in the last year, we've employed a fundraiser to work with the grants and applications and just helping coordinate all of that as best as possible. And that has been a huge success. One fundraiser in a part-time capacity, we know that we could probably have a multiple of those fundraisers doing the same job. But again, it's a catch-22 because you've got to, it's I guess finding the right pathways to be able to fund those fundraisers to help us do what we're doing. But at the same time, that has been one thing and it's been successful. And again, making sure that we're not extending ourselves is probably one of those biggest lessons that we took out of the challenge that we faced over a year ago. Not saying that we were in a difficult position, but at the same time, just making sure that we have that ongoing support for what we're doing for the particular territories.
How about volunteer retention? How challenging has that been over the last few years?
Not at all. In fact, if there's one failing, would be that we haven't really communicated or pressed for volunteers to join us, because we are inundated with volunteer requests for support through word of mouth and just them coming to us through the corporate world, the council world, sports groups. There's individual volunteers, there's schools that are just constantly at us, that our boats have been, we've had volunteers every day, right through the year. So it's the support of the volunteer network is the heartbeat of what we're doing. And they are the glue between the community and the environment for what our cause is facing.
And you've won some accolades over the years. You've been involved with EY Entrepreneur of the Year.
Yes, we have been very fortunate to have a number of different awards come our way. I think time does that, and again, in the same way that we've held ourselves accountable for doing the job and doing what we say we're going to do, I think if you get those core basics right, you get that level of acknowledgement for what you're doing. And for us, whilst those awards are wonderful and appreciated and they help elevate what we're doing, they're certainly not the things we're chasing. We just want to get on with doing the job, and I think they are just part and part of the process. And over time, you learn to sort of certainly appreciate them as you go forward. It's just making sure that they're not the driver behind what you're trying to do. The driver is doing the work, doing the mahi.
In your view, what makes a charity great?
Doing what you say you're going to do and delivering. And I know I've said that a number of times already, but it really is the core foundation for us having the 22, 23 year history behind what we're doing, because we are out there every day. We're down at the water's edge at 6:30 every morning, and whether it's assessing the weather or just getting straight on the boats to get out there and do it, getting the volunteers on board and doing what we do, we know we've got an exceptional opportunity within the work that we do to not only get out there and clean it up, but it's the remarkable thing about what we have got with the volunteers that come out and those that particularly haven't been out on the water before. we help them fall in love with the ocean, because the experience in itself, people turning up, first of all, kids, whether it's through schools that are coming out and they're getting down to the boat at 6:30, they're not normally out of bed at that time in the first instance, but they're getting down to the marina at 6:30 in the morning to see the dawn start to break. We're getting them through all the health and safety briefings to get them on the boat in their life jackets, and we're heading out through the marina to have the sunrise and putting themselves out on the water. I know you're a boater yourself, you've seen it, you've experienced that. It's a beautiful part of the day. To then have the experience of going somewhere and seeing all that, what is moving on a boat through the water and everything that comes with it, to be able to go ashore and clean up and capture and bring all this rubbish back on board and actually see immediately what they've been able to achieve, to have that level of satisfaction come from an organisation and a program, they can see that they've made a difference, and they know that they've helped the ocean, and because of the circumstance of being out there on the water in all of those beautiful situations, they can't help but fall in love with the ocean. So when people fall in love with something, they do everything to protect that. And for us, that's one of the most important things. So for us, being able to, I guess, work through that and provide that opportunity is what's put us in such a good space.
What's the most unusual thing you've ever picked up from the ocean?
There's a number of different things. To be honest, we've found everything. We've found everything from trampolines to kitchen sinks to the chairs we're sitting in to money being plastic, it floats. We've obviously 78% of what we're picking up is single-use plastics, but we've found adult toys, we've found sports balls, we've found, just looking at what's in the room here and the rolls of carpet and the beer crates on the floor, we've found everything. The ocean is downhill from everywhere, and these are I guess, the reality of what we're doing.
Do you have any advice that you would give your 20-year-old self?
I feel like I started on a pretty good foot because of the leadership of those that were around me at the time, and those mentors that are still with me today. They were really supportive, and the advice that they gave was just to keep on keeping on. Beware, be wise, but don't stop, just keep going.
And how important is it for a young person starting out to have a mentor?
I think it's critical. It's not just a mentor in the professional sense, but having even your mentors and your good close friends that you can bounce ideas off and work through strategy. But yeah, the mentorship on a professional level is it's invaluable. It's a cornerstone foundation of really what you need to do. But just don't limit yourself to just having one, I think, is the other piece there.
And what is the best piece of business advice you have ever been given?
It's about being honest and being transparent and communicating effectively.
Hayden, thank you so much for coming on the Fix and Fly podcast today and just giving our listeners an insight on what it's like to run a charity.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I wish you all the best in the future. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you enjoy the Fix and Fly podcast, make sure you like, comment and subscribe and share with anyone you think will find this useful. We look forward to seeing you next time.